Iris is extraordinarily driven. She wants to succeed, and that success isn't about her and as an individual. It's really more to be a role model. In everything that Iris has always done, it's about what she can do to create a better path forward for other young African Americans, whether they be male or female. And every opportunity I had to work with her was always about what she could do to make a difference in the lives of others. And that, to me, defines who Iris is.
Just being focused, being intelligent, being compassionate, being able to reach back and help others, being a mentor, always striving to do more. She received, her bachelor's and went on and got her master's, and later on in life even received her doctorate. So just understanding the importance of just, continuing to move forward, continuing to help, continuing to improve herself, and it's just good. And it's good for us just to also use that as a model for our young people to say, you can do this also.
Primarily, she was very smart. Like I said, she was bright. She carried herself with dignity and class. Even people, that she hung out with were classy and bright, and she was a leader. You know who's going. You kind of have an idea who's going to be somebody, and she was just one of those people.
He never forgot Evansville. He probably left when he was 18 years old, when he went to IU and then New York City. But he always came back for class reunions, and that's when we get together. And like I said, he would reminisce about his good old days at downtown Central High School. And I just feel very proud of Bruce. I used him all the years I taught journalism, about 20 years, I guess I taught journalism. And I used examples from him. He would send me his stories at Sports Illustrated. He said, look, Mr. Cole, they would eliminate this out of the story. They would copy read this. And I would show that to the kids that, hey, even great writers like Bruce, there's still things that you have to correct occasionally. And he sent me pictures of all the people he interviewed and times, and I'd use those in the classrooms. And the kids in the classroom were just totally enthralled and amazed that, because these were their heroes, Larry Bird, Walter Payton at that time, of course. And they were very impressed that one of their own made it that far in the field of journalism.
His immediate claim to fame was at 25 years old, he was the youngest staff writer for Sports Illustrated. And obviously he had a very illustrious career at Sports Illustrated, usually focusing on 5,000 plus word articles, which are substantial articles in the sports writing arena. And I know one of the things he did, which Hoosiers will appreciate, is that he did a 20-plus page article for Sports Illustrated on Hoosier basketball, Hoosier high school basketball, which at the time of that publication was the longest publication on a single subject that Sports Illustrated had ever done.
I think it's fabulous that we're recognizing Alicia Gaddis with this award, with this recognition. What she's been able to accomplish, and it's all, of course, built on her early experiences and exposures to arts and performance within the EVSC. But what she's been able to accomplish as an adult, whether it's her writing or her music, her comedy, is really remarkable. And I think when we look at Alicia and her career, one of the coolest things is that it's never done. There's always the next big thing that she's working on, the next exciting thing that she's putting out into the world. When I watch Alicia's story unfold and I see their popularity and their success, not just in California, not just with folks around here who know who she is, but internationally, it's really amazing.
When I think of Alicia, I think of a ray of sunshine. There's a warmth about her, kindness and compassion about her that is portrayed throughout all of what she does with her career. I was in high school with her. I was a couple of years ahead of her. And I do remember her coming to school, and she was just this ball of energy, enjoyed doing theater and being in front of people. And during the theater productions, you could just tell that there was a certain special sparkle about her. She definitely was going to use her, the things that make her special, the things that make her funny, the things that make her able to perform in front of other people. She was going to use those to entertain and educate and work with people across the globe.
He would pull a chair up to the desk where the patient sat. He would sit, pull up the chair, want the nurse to sit with him, so that you could talk about the patient, what happened with the patient, what's going on, what are the patient needs. He would ask the nurse if she needed anything to help with the patient. And he would also educate the nurse too if there was something that the nurse didn't understand and ask questions about. So he did that, and that was great. The other thing with Dr. Welborn was he took call on his patients 24/7. You always knew when you had his patient, you called him. You didn't call anyone else. And it was because he was so immersed in that patient and cared so much. He really wanted to be the one taking care of that patient.
He's one of those doctors who is always reading, always studying the latest literature and can quote it to you. So if you ask him a question about, how to care for a particular condition or what he knows about, a particular patient issue, if he knows it and he knows the literature, he'll tell you, what the answer is and what journal article it came from. If he doesn't, he says, I don't know, but I'll get back with you on that. And when he does, he's already done an incredible amount of research and has really made himself an expert on it. While there are a number of people in medicine that are that way, there's just something special about Mel Welborn. He goes above and beyond what many people do.
There was a bicyclist from Sweden that was in the country. He was riding across the country. Unfortunately, he got hit in Southern Illinois, became part of our trauma program, was picked up by the helicopter, flown to Deaconess, taken care of. Mel got to know him. Mel's a cyclist also, and formed a relationship with him. And so when the guy got discharged from the hospital, he still had recovery to do. Mel and his wife invited the guy into their home, and that's where he finished his recovery, was in the home. So another example that I think is very worthy of the Hall of Fame.
What I've noticed about Mike and Sandy is their passion for EVSC has never changed. It's just as strong now as it was when they were either administrators or teachers with the school corporation. It is such an integral part of their lives, and everything they do revolves around EVSC and how much they care about the organization. And that, to me, sets apart someone who should be a Hall of Fame recipient.
I believe that Sandy just did such an outstanding job in all facets of her career for the EVSC, and it was all to benefit students. It was never about Sandy and her climb up any kind of ladder, etc., or recognition she would receive. It was always all about the students, and she knew the best way. When she was a supervisor of foreign language, she knew the best way to impact those students was to help the teachers, for the teachers to have the resources so they could be the best that they could be for their students. And I think that's what makes Sandy stand out head and shoulders above many others, is just her dedication, her professionalism, and just the excellence in the job that she did.
Mike was, in high school and college, a very outstanding athlete. And that background enhanced what he was able to accomplish with students and his ability to implement students for programs for students, because he saw things that could be done for students but maybe weren't being done, and he set those things into motion.
One of the most important things is being a role model, and he is really a fantastic role model. We invite students from the Medical Professions Academy and from Health Sciences program down to Vanderbilt, and they spend a day on campus, and meet with folks who are pursuing different career paths. They learn about opportunities. They learn about things that are on the horizon that are coming in science and healthcare. And what's really great is, Jeff was always excited about those programs. And even when he had time, he would make time to come over and chat with the students, share his journey, his career journey, and take questions from them about healthcare. And I think the power of having somebody like him take time with a high school student and say, hey, I went to high school in Evansville. Think about what you can do. I think you just really can't underestimate that.
Dr. Bolzer is a role model for our students because he has made such an amazing contribution in not only science and medicine, but he has changed virtually millions of people's lives through his work at Vanderbilt University. And so to have somebody from our community that went to our high schools and our students to be able to see, oh, I can make my mark on the world. I can do that kind of change is just huge. I mean, to think we had somebody who was from Evansville, went to Harrison High School, graduated, was able to go get a bachelor's in engineering, then go get a PhD and an MD, then become a CEO of a major university's medical center. It's just, it's great to have that.
Married his high school sweetheart, Sherry Alvey. Went to Kodak, has been there for 42 years, has seen the ups and downs of business, very good leader, organizational skills. As I said, he gives back to the community, he's a great family man, has 2 children that have excelled where they've been, and just a good example for anybody to follow, a great mentor for me during my life. And he's there for you if you need him.
When I think of Dr. Terry Tabor, I immediately think of Kodak. And Kodak, for most all of us in the room, is a iconic world brand. But everyone knows that we used to take pictures with film. We used to use Kodak cameras. And what we also all know that this replaced Kodak and Kodak film. Dr. Terry Tabor is the #1 person at Kodak responsible for remaking the Kodak brand. So, the Kodak company relies upon an EVSC graduate to be primarily responsible for remaking its world brand. And that's what Dr. Tabor's been doing for the last 20 plus years. He's been responding directly to the CEO of Kodak for at least 10 to 12 to 15 years. And I think the EVSC can be exceptionally proud that their students are taking on the challenges of a worldwide responsibility of remaking that iconic brand.
Whether it's in the Sunday school room, teaching Sunday school, to all the teams that he's coached in, whether it was time he spent at Harrison in the feeder systems and then on over into the right system for football. I mean, the amount of lives he's touched there with those kids, and if anybody knows Brian, he's pretty fiery on the sidelines, and I think that kind of transitions over to his passion for doing the right thing, being a leader of men, and I think that's one of the key things that you start to think about, people that are impacting years and years of people for EVSC. He's touching a lot of those kids' lives, and I think a lot of them still look up to him today.
I mean, he has his own kids and his own family, but he's always giving. And so that volunteerism is deep within him to help make those changes to people in the community and help them to be just as successful as he is. So between his faith and him being a man of integrity, I feel like this is just the perfect award for him.
I was up later than I should be watching March Madness at the church, also studying for grad school while I was doing that. I was by myself at the church in the coffee shop there. I ended up having a seizure while I was there. Fell off my chair, really roughed up my face a lot in the church by myself. He was the first person I called. He rushed there. He took me to the hospital. and he followed up, and he is that kind of man that will drop everything for you to do whatever you need. It didn't cross my mind once that I should call anybody else. Brian was that person that came to mind in a moment of crisis, and he's not just been that for me, he's been that for a lot of people.
Niles Novelet has impacted the lives of millions of people across the entire world. And yes, I use the word world because what he has done, he has been a co-founder of Biomet, one of the leading forces in orthopedic implants across the entire country, as I've just said. And he has impacted the technology of what we are able to do to advance orthopedic care today.
Niles Novelet is a pioneer, and Niles Novelet has changed millions of lives around the world for decades. The ability to work with physicians and surgeons, to use the engineering expertise that he has to create a company that produces implants that allow people to walk who didn't walk before. It's as simple as that. Niles Novelet is somebody working with surgeons, working from our community, in our community, that changed the world. Imagine the satisfaction of a career spending time in a laboratory, going to school, getting the finest education here in Evansville and also at Rose-Hulman University, to be able to develop things that allow people to have a quality of life they never would have had before. That's amazing to me.
He had a great working relationship with other principals, assistant principals, and people in the EVSC. But it went further than that because all of the people around Evansville would call him constantly, just wanting to chat and ask him his opinion on different things. And that was seen whenever he was elected the Principal of the Year for the state of Indiana. He, he's received a lot of accolades, but he has earned and deserves every one of them.
Mr. Sharp was standing on the sideline when the band kids came off of the field after their performance, and he was always there to congratulate them. No matter how good or bad the performance was, he was always there for the kids. And I think with all of the different activities that are going on within a high school, he devoted himself to all of those things and made a difference for all of the kids that were involved in all kinds of things because he was so supportive of the kids, no matter whether they won or whether they lost.
He was the type of person that would survey something, take a long look at it instead of making perhaps a rash decision. He would think about it, and he might even ask your opinion on something, and maybe you weren't even involved in the decision-making process. It didn't affect you. But, I remember him asking myself and others, what do you think about this? But he made the decision, and it was decisive, and it was the right decision. Most every time, in fact, every time that I know of. He's just a good, thoughtful, caring person. It really bleeds green and white.
He really is a problem solver, and that's really what being a designer is, or an architect is. You're really problem solving, regardless of whether it's a building or if it's on a board that's got a task. And so he's always looking to hear what people's opinions are, what their thoughts are, and he's very good at gathering consensus and getting people to move in the same direction. I think that's why people have such a good impression of him is because he doesn't seek to advance himself. He seeks to advance whatever the goal is. And if he gets no recognition for it, he's fine with that. And I believe that's what people perceive, and really why there really isn't anybody that can say anything negative about him, because he really puts others first.
He's motivating you. He does that through just being fun and the passion. You can feel the passion that he brings. He does it in a way that I don't know how to really say it. He's calm about it, but yet you see the passion there, and so everybody's like, okay, let's go, let's win this, let's do this, and I think clients see that as well, as they feel confident when Jeff's in there. Okay, I feel good. Everything's going well, whether that's on a board or a client. Everybody feels good when Jeff's in the room. That yes, it's going to be taken care of and it's going to be done well.
you know, what AC has done professionally and philanthropically as a representative, a graduate of the EVSC, is very, very impressive. It was a huge deal when we were at Bosse and he was accepted into the Newhouse School at Syracuse, and that just vaulted him to a whole nother level. Going into work at Wish TV, he's obviously been highly decorated there. AC and his crew have several Emmys, you know, hanging on their wall or in their office, which says a lot about the professional side of things. But I tell you, one of the most impressive things is his philanthropic service. To me, that really speaks volumes about who he is.
You know, Anthony has a big heart. He likes doing things to help others. And the fact that that laid in him was a part of him, a part of his soul. When you believe that you can achieve, you'll achieve. And Anthony is a believer. If he thinks he can do it, he'll do it. No surprise, and I'm so thrilled that he is being recognized for this honor.
Probably 10 years ago, our daughter was in the hospital in intensive care, and it was Thanksgiving Day. My cell phone rang, and all of a sudden I looked down, it says AC, and I picked it up. I said, hello, and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, my daughter's here in the hospital, and we're just watching her. And he said, well, can I come up? I said, pardon me? He goes, well, I got something for you. So he came up, the elevator opened. He had brought us a whole Thanksgiving dinner for us to have in the hospital while we were there with our daughter. And I think that captures his humanity, his caring spirit, his deep concern for everybody, and that really defines AC.